I've worked at a Subway store for 4 years now. Lame, I know, but it's great money and relatively easy, and I've truly made some lifelong friends whilst working there. Anyone that works in any sort of fast food shop is bound to have their fair share of horror stories. A friend of mine that used to work at McDonald's almost got tased when she went to take a customer's money through a drive-thru. Crazy shit. Anyway, apart from being robbed once while working and your general drunks, I never had much of a story to tell until last week. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was on until 5 p.m. and having started work that day at 6:30, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. It was around 3:30 when the other girl that I was on with started complaining she felt really sick. I told her I'd be fine working until 5 by myself, so she left. We aren't supposed to do that, and I probably shouldn't have, but what can you do? So she left, and time trickled by. We were dead as anything, so I got pretty excited when a customer walked on through. He looked like he was in his late 40s, had balding black hair and ridiculously thick glasses, and a very sad demeanor about him. I greeted him with my usual, "Hi, how are you today?" in the most cheerful tone I could muster. "Fine," was all he managed to mumble out. "Aren't customers awesome?" He began ordering his sub, a process that usually takes me under a minute depending on how decisive the customer is. This particular customer, however, was choosing each and every aspect of his sandwich with such care. It was like it was going to be his last meal in the world. After a 5-minute debate on which cheese he wanted, I whisked him a sub into the toaster. I hate awkward silence during the toasting time, so I like to spark up conversation with the customers. I began asking how his day had been so far, and he told me that it was one of the worst days of his life. The day before, I too had experienced a shit kicker of a day and began to retell my experience. How it started with a 10-kilogram box of chicken falling on my head, how my phone fell out of my work locker and the cold, hateful tiles obliterated the screen, how I then had to catch a bus home from work only to realize 20 minutes in I was on the wrong bus and on the complete opposite side of town, and how it ended with me walking home in the pouring rain to find I was locked out. Real shit day. To my surprise, the grumpy, indecisive man was now howling with laughter, with tears pouring down his face. Now I admit it was kind of funny, but not that funny. Although I was glad to see he had some sort of happiness in him. I finished up his sandwich and he went and sat in the restaurant happily chomping away. 10 minutes later, he came up to the counter and asked if he could borrow a pen. I handed him one, and he took it, and he took a napkin and went back to his table. A further 10 minutes later, he returned with the pen, and now the scribbled on, folded up napkin. He handed them both to me and asked me to promise him not to read the napkin until he was out of the shop and out of view. I generously agreed, and he left the shop and walked onto the highway that was in the front of the store. I watched as cars screeched around him as he walked without a care in the world to the middle grass island that separates the two sides. For a few very long minutes, he stared down the highway into oncoming traffic, like he was judging when a good time it would be to cross back over. But that couldn't be it, I thought. What the hell was he doing? As if he had heard my thoughts, the man turned towards me with the biggest grin plastered across his face and started waving. A bit confusing and very creeped out, I waved back. It was then that he stepped out in front of a log truck. I have never seen someone get hit by a vehicle before, and I never wish to again. I shoved the napkin into my back pocket and leapt over the counter and bolted outside. His body was lying 200 meters up the highway. People were screaming and crying. It was total chaos. I ran to him where a small group of people were gathered. I knelt down in front of his badly mangled body and immediately started bawling my eyes out. How was it that just 5 or so minutes ago, this man was standing in front of me, well and truly alive, and now he was dead and almost unrecognizable? It was then that I remembered the napkin. This is what it said.
To my dear fellow human, today I decided that it is going to be my last day on this horrid earth. It wouldn't be so horrid if my beautiful wife and daughter were still alive. But they're not. And today is the 1-year anniversary of their deaths. 1 fucking year since that idiotic drunk driver crashed into them at 110 kilometers at an intersection. They did not deserve to die that night. But they did. Since then, I am not the same person. Hell, who could be? I'm just a shell of my former self. Most people don't even bother with me anymore, and I know I come off as rude, but I really didn't think that I had any positivity left in my life, in my soul, until today. Until today, I hadn't laughed, or smiled for that matter, in a year. But you achieved the impossible. You made a sad old man cry tears of happiness. I wanted to thank you for that. For you have put me on cloud 9 and made me realize that life isn't all that bad. But this is truly what I want. I need to be with my daughter and my wife, and that is just what I'm going to do. So again, thank you for making my year and helping me leave this earth with a smile on my face. P.S. Great sub.